Hey, we're back up here from Attack on Productions. I got Tanner here with me today. So at our local tournaments, Tanner, you played against Dark. You ended up beating him.
Mm-hmm.
There was a misplay, but it
Yeah,
didn't matter. Your UI Goku still would have knocked the pan
yeah,
away.
but it's the principle of the matter.
But since then, you've made some changes to this deck.
Yeah, I've played it a lot more too. And frankly, I think a lot of that misplay was because I forgot Fearless Pan had blocker, and that's why that card's so good. And or not blocker, I'm sorry, barrier as well. But it's all good. Dark and I are good friends, so it wasn't an intentional misplay. But I still think this deck's really good, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about it. I think it's going to get a lot better in Set 10, like a lot of older archetypes. And there will be some slight changes when Set 10 hits, and I'll talk about those as I go. But I think this leader's great, so I'm going to go ahead and get into it.
Yeah.
So this is Revive Coup, essentially, is the colloquial term. His auto on the front side is when he attacks a leader card, you draw one card. Bit of a weakness, but still, you get that front side draw. And then auto, once per turn, when you activate Revive, you draw one card. He awakens at 4, and he is a hybrid. So you untap one and then draw one. Am I still in the good?
Oh, you're perfect.
Yeah, good. And then on his backside, that's where the bread and butter comes from. He is auto. When this card attacks another card, draw one card. So you lose that having to attack the leader. And then auto, once per turn, when you activate Revive, you draw 2. And then auto or activate main, once per turn, choose one of your blue-green multi-card battle cards in your battle area in rest mode. Your opponent can't attack your leader card until that card is gone from the field. So it's essentially a deadly defender, more or less. So let's go ahead and get into the deck itself and why I think this leader's good. I think blue-green is still good, and I think this is a really interesting leader that makes opponents have to play around it that makes it great. So first things first, check lands. A lot of people would probably argue the blue-red Frieza is the best check land to play. I think it's actually this one. I have played it multiple times in a lot of different decks. It does make a difference. So there is utility besides that. This deck also needs the consistency. It needs that blue, and there isn't a lot of like blue besides the check lands or the multicolor cards. So this is really pivotal in this deck, and you have to run it at a 4. All right, so let's get into the Revive package itself. And I was about a day ahead of Eggman on this one. And then the buyout happened. And we're going to talk about Frieza's Army Healing Pod. This card is great in this deck because it adds that extra value. All your Revive cards are green. So when you play that on the front side, you're getting a 2 draw with your leader if you manage to get that out on the field. And on the back side, you're getting a 3 draw with that in there. 3 might be a little heavy, but it does create some value in this particular deck. And honestly, shout out to Eggman for like seeing how good the card is and why people have kind of slept on it. But it does work with this deck really well as well. First bit of the Revive package is the Kaio-Ken Son Goku Returns. It is Revive and then auto KO this card. When a battle card your opponent is attacking with a 6 or less attacks, negate the attack. This card is great. It really has to be played around, and it's sort of a like perpetual negate as long as you have the cards to drop for it. Plus, a lot of people will try to remove these cards or your Revive cards via game mechanic or other means and not KO them. And that basically keeps you from getting the value. So this card makes sure you get that value. So early on, you can just go ahead and KO it if you think they have means of removal, and you still get your value from it. Plus it replays, and you can continue to use that skill. Revive is also once per turn per card, but this card's great. The real heart and soul of the package, and what really gives it value, is the Son Goku, and Piccolo Pupil and Master. It's got barrier, so it doesn't get counterplayed, it can be counterplayed, but it's harder to counterplay. Revival, wow, Eminem album. Revive, blue-green, and then auto, when this card attacks, your opponent discards one card. It's really great. It's a great target for the backside ability on the leader, and it gives you that value because every time it attacks, they're dropping a card. You get multiple of these on board, you're generating a lot of advantage. 2 of the Son Goku Spirit of the Planet. This card's great with what's coming up in set 10 because he has an activate main / battle ability. Or actually, it's just activate battle, I apologize. Which is blue-green. It gains triple strike and 10,000 attack. This is great to deal with unisons early on. If you can play them on turn 2 and they get into that sort of turn 3 play or they've already put some counters on it, it lets you, when it hits, and since they can't defend, you're usually getting in for the 3 counters. So this card's a really great tech with all the unison that's going to be played. And it's a great game ender if you have it on board at that point, or maybe you didn't see it early on. Now, I think this is the best card to play with Revive, and I run 3 of them, and it's the Dr. Euro. He is out of the Surge Piccolo expansion, and he has Blocker. And the auto is when you use him to pay for a Revive skill, he plays from the drop. So basically, you force them to attack your Revive or your Deadly Defender, for lack of a better term. And then once they KO it, you pay for it, get that back on field, and have another blocker. So you're most likely keeping another attack from going through. This card does work. And if deck space wasn't so tight, I would probably add it up to 4. But right now, I think the deck's at like 53 or 54. So it's already, the ratios are a little off, and I'm going to work on that. The next little sort of techie card is Android 18, Full of Rage. This is great against a lot of the hyper-aggressive decks, Baby, U6, Turn 2 Han, Vegeks. It's a rival blue, and then you can activate Battle, return this card to your hand, and then return an opponent's card of 4 or less back to their hand. It's a really good defensive card, and worst case scenario, if you don't want to use it that way, it's a 20k body that you can get out for 1. It's a really great card. I ran it at 3 earlier on, dropped it down for an extra healing pod. Kind of debating on that ratio as well, but I'm not really playing around as much with the ratios right now with set 10 right around the corner. This card is amazing, and it is a counter attack. For 2, basically, when it's your opponent's turn. It plays itself, and then when it plays, you KO one of your opponent's cards. This is really mean against Celzino. It's really mean against a lot of things without barrier, and it's a great counter attack. So basically, it's a negate. Something cutesy. I have it because this deck does have a lot of hand control elements. 2 of the Draft Box 5 rebrand. Mana Sink. Combo it off early. It's a 5k combo. I'm sure you've probably noticed at this point this deck is extremely high on 10k combos. So this allows you to, if you feel like you're in a position where they're gaining too much advantage or that you want to go for game and you want to keep cards out of their hand, this is a great 2 energy drop. Truth be told, you want to keep your energy open a lot in this deck because of that lack of 5k. So this is a very, very niche card. You need to know when you want to use it, but it's great when it's there. The Self-Awakener and the only blue 5k in the deck, Awakening Talent Pan. Most people would run the Gohans, but I had 0 blue 5ks. I love World Martial Arts Tournament, so she was a no-brainer. And a lot of people will hold the Awakening on this deck because of the value generated on that backside of the leader. So this allows you to get into that for a very cheap way. Another quick package, Draft Box 4, being reprinted Anniversary Box, the card that I misplayed with Dark. Son Goku, Son Gohan, Saiyans of Earth. It is a rival blue-green. When you play this card, send one of your opponent's battle cards with 5 or less, does not ignore barrier, to your opponent's energy and rest mode, and then they discard a card. Great card. Although it doesn't see much play right now, it gets Beerus No Holds Barred. Or I'm sorry, it gets Heartfelt Plea, which plays off of Beerus No Holds Barred, because Beerus No Holds Barred, I believe, has barrier. Whoops. But it can interrupt Heartfelt Plea. If you saw the previous video with this with Aaron, that's something we talked about. It's just a really good card and creates a lot of value. Plus, it is a 5-drop Goku, which leads into one of your other win conditions. Ultra Instinct Sign Son Goku. Plays for 2 blue. It's an EX Evolve. Discard 1 card, and it plays for free. Or not plays for free, but it plays on top of it. When it's played, all of your opponent's cards go back to their hand. It does ignore barrier. It does get around barrier. And when you attack with it, it is triple strike, and your opponent cannot combo. This is a really, really great game ender if you can get into it. Really, since Gogeta's gone, this is probably the best blue game ender until maybe that secret rare that dropped the other day or today. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But I think that's a really, really good card. I think it's good at 2 because you don't have to see it, but it's great if you do. 4/18 super combos. You have to run these because of the arrival pieces. And, of course, this is blue-green, so you're going to see the secret rare at the end of the video because I always wait for my win conditions at the end of a video. But this is great for that arrival. It's great for that hand destruction, and you pretty much have to run it. But it's a great super combo. Hard negates, 2 Whis' Coercion. I just like the tap-untap because energy is so important. Once they get through your revive, and once they get through your blocker and everything else, you're going to need that open energy to defend with your 10k bodies. So negate that basically essentially plays for free. It's great to have. Obviously, you need the 1 blue open to play it, but you get my point. This is the card that's going out, but I needed it because it's sparking. Shocking Death Ball. It's still really good. I don't think I'd run it at 3 because Dormant Potential is coming out, which is essentially a green Nimbus. If I read Dormant Potential correctly, it doesn't actually negate the attack that's happening immediately, but it's going to really do work. And this is a great negate. It's a staple negate, obviously, but the ratios are going to change on that. But this is great to have, and when you are tapped out because you've had to defend with 10k bodies, you can always Sparking Negate with this. So it's going to stay in the deck, but the ratios are absolutely going to change. I think this is going to be a Vajix-dominated format, so I think this is one of the best response cards in that format. Zenzu Bean. And honestly, we've talked enough about Zenzu Bean. I'm not running a 5th. I just can't count. I wish I could run a 5th, though. It's Bean. I mean, you could probably have a 20-minute video on why this card's amazing. If we ever go into rotation, people are going to be real sad when that's gone. Every video I say this arguably is the best counterplay in the game. So this is arguably the best counterplay in the game. Hidden Potential. It is counterplay 4 or less. Card doesn't get played, goes to the drop, untap an energy. Great counterplay. And it's blue-green, so run it. This card is the MVP of the deck. It's probably one of the best cards printed from set 9. EDK sells Earth Destroying Kamehameha. You're not charging blue in this deck unless you're in a really bad spot. So you're getting another 15k defense for 1 energy, which is more efficient than a lot of the 10k bodies. It just goes into the hand destruction aspect. It's just a great, solid card. 3 is the right amount. 4 would probably be too clunky. 2 tap cards, Bad Omen, and then Furthering Destruction Champa. Yeah, you need the double strike sometimes to get for game. And then while a lot of people don't think your opponent's going to be at 1 life, this is just a great charge target early on. They forget about it. Or just charge it as your 5th energy if you've already put pressure and you kill them for that 1 life. It's amazing.
I love charging that card early on.
Yeah, I do too. If I see it opening hand, I keep it. And then the finishers, Food of the Dark Banisher, just, again, generates value, especially with how much hand destruction there is in there. You know, normally you can use that as your game ender because they don't have cards to discard for the permanent anymore, so you're just going in. And then, of course, a fantastic secret rare. You can play it offensively, you can play it defensively, it ends games, it extends games. Just great card. Last little bit I want to say is I played this, actually, it's appropriate that this is the mat. I played this heavily in Malicious Machinations. Everybody sort of gravitated towards a deck and I was without anything, so I played this, and then I always usually play at least one of the stamped cards I pull because I have a problem and buy too many pre-release kits. So it's a great deck. I've played it for a while. It does have some weaknesses, but it does have a lot of strengths as well. I think it's going to get a lot better in set 10, and I'm really excited to hear what you all have to say or think about it. So that's my deck.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Tanner. Like always, anything you guys see, like, hey, this may make it better, or just compliment the deck, put it in the comments down below.
Yeah, I love feedback.
It helps the community grow.
Yep.
If you guys enjoy our content, hit that like, subscribe button. We taking recommendations. Tanner's helped me out before recommendations. Jimmy's helped me before too. That deck profile is coming up. Look forward to that one.
I was in that deck battle. It was not fun.
Yeah. But yeah. Thanks for tuning in. And like always, Tanner, you want to say the rules because you need.
No, because now it's hurting my feelings. But remember to read your cards and know you're allowed to play.
Fluff out.